We are really privileged today to have Dr. Bimal Kumar Roy. Professor Bimal Kumar Roy is the newly appointed chairperson of the National Statistical Commission. He is a former director of the Indian Statistical Institute, and he still is in Indian Statistical Institute. He is currently serving as the so in 2015, Professor Roy was awarded the Padma-Sri, India's one of the highest civilian honor, recognizing his accomplishments and contribution to education and innovation. So with a big round of applause, may I please welcome on stage Professor Padma Shri Bimal Kumar Roy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the nice introduction, and also thanks to the organizers for inviting me here. When they wanted to invite me, I told them, this forum seems very peculiar for me because I am neither an engineer and nor do I even understand the applications that well. So I told them maybe I am not the right person. But anyway, they insisted. So I am trying to present some ideas, some issues that I think may be very relevant for the networking people, for the internet people. Let me try to present my ideas. As we mentioned that I am right now the chairman of the National Statistical Commission. So this means I am kind of the custodian of all the Indian government data. So if you see that the GDP is being published, unemployment is being released, and all kinds of stuff you see, this goes through the commission, and only after you get, we are going to, they will publish. And after I was commissioned in this position, our Honorable Prime Minister, he invited me for a one-on-one discussion on what he is expecting from me, at the same time what I would be expecting from the government. And the first point is very relevant for this community, so I'll talk about the first point. So he gave me many advices that what he's looking for from me, but that's not relevant for this community. But a few points that I discussed with him that I would like the government to follow. I will mention the first one, which is very relevant. So I told him that, sir, we have a notion called RTI. Okay, it's a legal now, right to information. So if any citizen puts a query to the government or to the any public institution, they are supposed to furnish the citizen that information, except for the issue of privacy and security. And our experience with RTI is very bad. I don't know if you have tried to give an RTI, so I could give an RTI, to say Ministry of Railways, and for some question, and they are supposed to reply by 30 days. They will normally not. And then you make a query, there is a series of appellate authorities, and at the end of it, it may so happen that this may not be disclosed because this will hamper the privacy of blah 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 blah. Okay, so my experience has been very bad. I did put some RTI, got really no answer eventually, because even the rule says that if it does have a privacy or security issue, you have no right to know that. That's understandable. So I told him, sir, why not we make all the Indian data, be it hospital, be it university, be it the industry, could be education, health, whatever sector you can think, the road construction or the village level administration, the performance of all the government projects like price with ₹2 per kilo or 100 days of work. So whatever information, you have. The different departments have this information, they have their own data. Why don't we put into, we just make our own cloud, we put all the data into the cloud. And at the same time, just what the Google does, we design a search engine on the data, so anybody who has any internet access from any place could get into that server or that cloud and we could put a query there. Well, we could write our own program also, but we could put a query there and the query will be processed and you get the answer in seconds. Okay, this is okay, but again the question comes of the notion of privacy and security. So this means what data, what kind of stuff could be released, what are privacy issues. So we need to actually make a national policy which will make very public. There is nothing to hide. So I don't put a query and then we say that this is going to be given to you. So we may make a broad national policy that these are the things which makes a privacy issue. These are the things which may deal with the national security or our intelligence system. So we may even define all those things very clearly. Okay, and once your query doesn't fall into a data which will involve data which belongs to, which gets into this publicly disclosed policy on privacy and security, the search engine is going to answer. I don't even need a search engine. Even an intelligent student could possibly write a small program and just get the information out of it. So the Honorable Prime Minister listened to me very carefully and he said, this is, I think, very good. We should work toward it, but no, this is going to be a mammoth task. The government has don't have that capacity within the government. So naturally we have to go to very learned vendors or capable vendors who do it. But he asked me one thing, but even to handle the vendors so that they don't fool us, do we have enough personnel in the government who understand the subject very well so that the vendors don't make fool of us? Because ultimately the vendors are not responsible, we are responsible. So he told me, how do we make a huge pool of relevant persons in the government? We may even recruit them who could actually handle these people. Who could. So if a person puts a query, if has any problem using their site, getting a query answered, he is going to approach to one of the government persons. The government will then go to the service provider, the vendor, he or she will answer. And I said, at this point probably not, but we can always build a cadre. So what is on now, a pilot project, okay, with certain sector, with limited amount of physical area, limited domain. So it's going to be tried upon. So how could we build our own cloud, our own query system, our own database, and any citizen could actually inquire, and in fact we could possibly give a score of a user depending on his or her background. Means this person can access up to privacy level of that or security level of that. So this also could be defined. So once you log in, you give you answer some questions, and then you are assigned a score, and accordingly you would be given access to certain portion of the data, certain portion of the data you may not get access. So on that, I think the government has floated an RFP. There have been vendors submitted their proposals, and I am pretty sure they will select one and they will give them 6 months time to demonstrate to the government that this is doable or this is not doable, this is doable in this way or that way, and so on and so forth. And hopefully in 2 years' time, we could see a very different paradigm shift in the Indian data domain. So all public data is on the public domain. Now there are concerns like, since people will handle with internet, now who can write on that, who can hack into the system, how do you block it, how do we, so there are many issues which have to be sorted out. And kind of me and I suggested, I think they are forming another committee who would oversee these pilot projects vendor to guide them in this privacy, anonymity and so on and so forth. I suggested few names, and our colleague, not Gautam, Dr. Kishan Chandra Gupta is a member of that committee now, along with one person from the PMO and NTR, Commodore Anand. We all know him. So these people will be getting into this, and so this is a huge task India is going to do, and I'm pretty sure that I don't think even after the pilot would know, even one vendor may be able to do all parts of this one. There are many issues here. So my previous speaker was mentioning some issues. There could be issue of even speed, time, memories. All these things are which I don't understand much. So I put a query, get an answer after 1 hour, doesn't make any sense. So there will be many issues there. And how do we make it even accessible to a rural person where internet line is very slow or not even there? We have to get into this. So this is one task that we are going to do, and I think this community will be needed to fulfill the government's activity, and I am pretty sure in 2 years' time we will see this paradigm shift. And any data, nothing to be written. So people put question that why we don't believe that the GDP growth is so much, and we'll put the formula how we compute GDP on the web, and we get all the primary level data, and you can compute yourself. We don't have to. It will be that transparent. So you can see how are the service sector performing, how is the manufacturing performing in all the sectors, because we are trying to put, or hopefully the industry gives the right data. So whatever data we get, put it there, and we give you a formula that this is how we compute the GDP. So any student, college student can compute it. There's nothing that we don't want to hide anything. So this, for this transparency, what I call this project, the data transparency over this internet, this is going to come, and this will save the government from all kinds of criticisms. See, we cannot, the data we cannot control why this is, and possibly people even do causal analysis. So I think we will be inviting even the common citizens, students, others to look into the data, and what I say, the causal analysis. Suppose I would like people to look into the time series. Suppose I look into the unemployment. Unemployment comes from many different sectors, many different level of education, many different sectors, rural, physical location, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you look into this unemployment data over a period, and they publish in every quarter. Now, if you just go through the data over every quarter, and you see what are the causes, plausible causes of this unemployment, that data is also available. And what we are concerned about, if there is a sudden dip or even sudden hike. Now, if I look at this time series curve of a particular parameter, and if there is a sudden spike or sudden dip, we invite the common people, not common in that sense, common learned people. If the government doesn't have to do anything, they can tell why it's happening. We are going to invite. You can do your own analysis and submit the solution to us. Submit what is your view. So you could get 10 viewpoints. So now the issue is that the government does all the computations. Government will still go on doing it. And sometimes common people don't have that much of trust on the government. So this trust will be built, and this is built by transparency, and for that we need a very fast, reliable internet communication. How it is going to come? I say I am not a competent person, and I can only talk about the back end, how to have the data, how to handle this one. Even in a practical domain, accessing a data from a file, it may take some time. It is very fast. So all the issues are going to be there. So this is my first message as my new position. So this is something we are going to do. We are planning something, and I also invite anybody, any comment. You can send me an email. anywhere, that if you think in the data domain, what the government can do it, I'm very open to listening to all the sessions. And since I report directly to the Prime Minister, no one else, and the PM is convinced, it goes through. So what can be done for the national scenario, even in this domain? So I invite you to put any comment, any suggestion to me, and you can get my email, and I acknowledge and respond to all the emails I receive. Okay, now I come to the technical point about it. Yes.
Hello sir, my
Yes.
name is Sagar Mishra and I am from 13 Tabs. It's a research engine of India, and we were working with this data from the government, and we see a problem there that there is an authentication problem with the government data, that it is not open, that who or who not could access those data. And if the government is trying to put those data online for the general public to access it, and we could always help the government and kindly look into this authentication part. And yes, we are being incubated at NASCOM 10,000 startups, so we could always help the government in its aim to do this problem.
Okay, good. Thank you. So can you just send an email? Just send an email. What you told me, so I don't forget it.
Okay.
So we just send me an email.
Okay.
And I really invite comments or suggestions from anyone. Ultimately, our target is in 2 years' time, we are going to make it what is called the transparent India.
Hi, Mullin. This is very, very interesting. I guess I'm curious as to what you call data. I mean, are emails data?
Yes.
Emails?
I'm going to come to ML after some time.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to come. Okay, now some things are, I'll tell you very simple. Some things are already done, but that's done in the government domain. So how do we say, how does I cannot talk too much about the police intelligence. How do the intelligence work? Okay, they actually use a lot of data mining and machine learning techniques on the emails being transacted over the internet. Okay, and that gives them a huge amount of information. And that's one of the main tools of our intelligence. Exactly what level, I'll tell you a very simple thing. Suppose you have a voice. I'm making a mobile call to this gentleman. Now this goes to certain gateways or certain towers and so on and so forth. Now normally these voices would not be encrypted, or even if it's encrypted by the service provider, it will be a little low level encryption. It won't be very, very sophisticated encryption. But if we really want to communicate something very secret, we will be trying to put another layer on top of this communication, which we would feel that will make it more secured. So even if somebody taps it, there's no information what is going on between us. Okay, now how the intelligence would function. Now if they will put a little scanners in these voice networks, and they will just do little voice analysis, that the level of encryption, whether there is encryption at all or not. There is no encryption, normally they won't care much, but even that's not very trivial to find out. If a 01 goes, whether this is actually a plain voice, encrypted voice, even classifying that needs certain amount of skill. And it's very non-trivial. I give my students a project of doing it. Okay, I speak in a plain language and I enter with RC4. Gautam is the expert of RC4. Okay, so ultimately we generate some zeros and ones, right? So if I give the zeros and ones, can somebody study the zeros and ones and can tell whether we are speaking plain or this is going through some encryption. Okay, so this voice, the internet voices are all monitored by all the intelligence all over the world. Okay, so this is the truth. Okay, and if you use this very strong encryption and you think you are very safe for the communication, there's the other way. And if you can find out from the zeros and ones, again, this is a non-trivial problem. These are our research problems, that you get the zeros and ones and you feel that a very strong encryption layer has been added before this is being communicated. Okay, then immediately you'll identify the sender and the receiver, and you are in trouble. You are in trouble. So why would me and him will be talking in a fashion using a very strong encryption layer in between? Okay, so no, it may be okay. Say some people are given permissions. If I think President Trump is talking to President Prime Minister Netanyahu, that line is of course very well protected. So they would know who are eligible to do it and who are not eligible to do it. Okay, and that's how most of the intelligence will work. And there is a issue here, and it's a very non-trivial issue. How do I understand from the zeros and ones what is the level of encryption has been used, or it has not been used at all, it's plain. We can give a try. This is very non-trivial. I have even tough time getting into zero. Is it a plain? We are trying to classify into, are they speaking say English or Bengali or Telugu? Even that finding is very difficult. So if I analyze this internet traffic, email or ultimately zeros and ones. So we have a standard thing. So I was visiting NIST, the US government who makes all the standards, just a month back, and we were talking about, this was relevant here, their current project is, they are trying to standardize this lightweight cryptography. I think he mentioned about that one. I'll come to that later on. But before that, I think what people were concerned about, we are using digital signature for authentication. So we talk about authentication. So you have to sign. So if you put any data on the web, someone takes the responsibility of it. So the person responsible, if it is a data for this particular hospital superintendent has to put a digital signature on it. And that's how do we do it? We put we hash it, we do with this his private key, you will encrypt it and put that signature there. And what you would do, you would be using his public signature, his public key, and you will decrypt it. And if it matches, then you know that it has been actually signed by him, and then he has to take responsibility. If you find any problem with the data, the person who signed has to take responsibility. So this is, so there are issues in this signature scheme. People are using a hash function called SHA-2. But in 2006-07, one Chinese girl or lady, I didn't meet her, but Xin Wang, she suddenly produced, I don't know from where, she produced two different texts which are giving the same digest for the SHA-2. She didn't even present an algorithm, but that's enough to be shaken. This means it's possible to impersonate, it's possible to change the text. So all we are doing to authenticate through hash and then put a signature. Now if I could actually generate another text having the same hash value, everything is changed, everything is compromised now. So it's not that she could show that she would do it all the time, but she just showed only one, and that's good enough for us. And US government was very concerned, so they opened a competition, and it's a very open competition for a new hash algorithm, they call the new hash standard. And I think there were some 50-60 contestants. They put their proposals, and it was evaluated. And one of my colleagues like Gautam is my colleague, Midul was involved by NIST to evaluate those proposals. And now we have got, there is a algorithm sponge, SPONGE. This is actually the US government standard for hash. So now, if US government, or if you are doing US government, for all your authentication, the hash has to go with this sponge. With no other algorithm, if you do, the US government is going to accept it. They won't use it, they won't allow you to communicate with the US government, any organization, without this sponge. Then this the actual encryption algorithm. So RSA was a standard when I was studying, so a long time back. But RSA seems weak now. Okay, RSA 512 has been broken, even now is RSA 1024. I think 760-bit integers are broken, are factored. So people are not feeling very comfortable with the RSA at all. And if you just go on increasing the number of bits, the overhead of computation also grows. So it leads to different kinds of these things. So they have evolved. Mathematics was there, the elliptic curve cryptology. They're evolving signature schemes using elliptic curves. So then, and now they have also defined, I think this project over, what are the elliptic curves could be used for such signatures. So these are mathematical objects, like curves, formulas, right? Like equations. Ellipse formulas from high school I have learned. Some parabola, circle have an equation. So what kind of equation, what kind of curve would be good? That means there has been a thorough study by the community before coming to standardize the elliptic curves which could be used for the signature. So now there are standards for elliptic curves. Okay, what's the latest with the NIST? Now they have found that people use, because these machines are very powerful normally in the network. But if you have a device for communication which doesn't have so much of memory, which may not have so much of computational power, the standard things that we use over this internet for this communication are no good. Okay, so we call lightweight machine. Lightweight means the memory is low, even the computational power is low. The devices are young, and typically in the IoT devices, all of this kind. IoT devices, they are not big computers. Okay, they capture certain information, they process it, and they pass it on. So these are typically low memory, low computational power devices. Now if they are put into the internet communication, now the new standards have developed. So the standard developed for block cipher like AES, or for stream cipher for the NESI project, or for hash function for the NIST project, or these things what was done so far, they are not feasible to embed into these IoT devices. So you need to relook at everything. So now the competition is going on. If you just go to a NIST site, Lightweight Crypto, there have been, I think, more than 100 submissions, and they evaluated. And one of Donghung is not our colleague but our friend. One of Donghung. So Donghung is a Korean guy, but one of very good friend. He is now sitting in NIST, involved in this project. So they are evaluating these lightweight cryptos. So given this constraint, what best I can do? So this is going on, and probably I'll just talk last 5 minutes about what I mean by security. That's very important. So on this I'd like to, maybe I'll first tell you a small story, and that story will give me the criteria. This is also one of my very favorite stories. So when I was doing undergraduate first year, we didn't have, well, we had some mainframe computers, but as a first year student, we hardly had any access to that. So if you have to do some data computation, we used to have this mechanical machines, facet machines. Okay, I'm talking about late 70s. So for us, if we have to do some computation, fit a regression or fit some predictive kind of modeling, we'll get some data and we'll faithfully use these mechanical machines, which machines are pretty heavy. We have to move this one. And I believe it is just a Turing machine. It's just registered and you can move this or that way, nothing more than that. And the rest you do. And this was a nightmare for us. And we hated this class. So one day the professor came and said that, well, today you don't have to get the machines. And we could bunk those classes because the machines are not there with us in the hostel or home. Okay, if they are aware, because nowadays what they happen if they have the assignments on the machines, so the students can bunk the class and go to the, and they can do from home, and they submit the assignment. That time we couldn't do that because we had to physically go there and do this computation there. So one day he came and said, okay, today we have got a very easy class. You just take a coin, toss it 1,000 times. Okay, and if it is head, you write 1, if it is tail, you write 0. And once you finish 100 tosses, you write this sequence of 1 and 0s, you can leave. We just looked at each other, we thought the professor was very smart. Actually, he was a very smart professor. How could be such a fool? He leaves the class and does he expect us to really do 1,000 tosses? We know heads and tails will come more or less equal. So we just quickly filled up zeros and ones, zeros, ones, zeros, balancing ones and zeros, and in a few minutes, 1,000 tosses are over. And we leave the class. So we are very smart kids, the teacher is a fool. The next day he comes and he tells, have you done it? Yes, sir. It's okay, give me your output sheet. I gave my 1,000 tosses. Okay, 100, I think there are 50 rows and 20 columns. We used to have this practical sheet like that. So I give my sheet. So my sheet goes to my neighbor. The neighbor's sheet goes to the other neighbor and so on and so forth. At the end of this movement, everybody else have an output of some other student. And then he asked my neighbor, in fact, he later became a divisional director of mathematical science of NSF, this Pantula Shastri. So Pantula was holding my output. He says, you check in Bimal's output sheet, how many times he has got an occurrence of 8 consecutive ones. And he counted, he says, none, sir. Very unlikely, 8 consecutive ones, unlikely. Then he asked the next guy, how many times did Pantula get 8 consecutive ones? None. So he goes around the class, none of us had any occurrence of 8 consecutive ones. Then it's okay, let's do some elementary probability, even a school kid can understand. Now I tell this story in high school kids, they understand. In my time, we were not that smart probably, I couldn't have done this one. So if you toss once, what is the probability that you will get a head? Half, right? If you toss twice, what is the probability that you will get head followed by head? 1/4. If you toss thrice, all 3 heads, 1/8. If you toss 8 times, all heads, you will get 1/2 to the power 8, which is 1/56. What does this probability mean? That if you have 256 such sequences, you expect to get 1 such occurrence from 8 ones. Now look at this 1,001. First one to the 8th one. This is one sequence of 8 tosses. The second to 9 is another instance of 8 consecutive tosses. Then third to 10, so on and so forth. You just cross this, so how many instances of 8 consecutive tosses of 1 you get it? 1 to 8, 2 to 9, 3 to 10, 993 to 1000. So how many? It is about 993. So you have created 993 instances of 8 consecutive ones. And the probability of getting all of them ones of the 8 is 1/256. So of these 993 instances, how many would expect? Almost 4. Now since this is a probabilistic thing, you may get 3, someone may get 5, someone may even get 2, someone may even get 6, someone may even get 1 or 7, or 0, all of you getting 0. He said, you thought I am a fool, right? No, you all are. I knew that you would try to fool me. Now what was this is how our class started. And then he tried to say, which is very important in this internet communication domain, and NIST has built standards for it. He said, if you are trying to communicate in the internet something other zeros and ones, you don't want others to even hack it or not understand it. So my previous speaker was talking about Shannon's entropy. the entropy has to be maximum, right? So when my zero zones are going, no matter in which form, voice, text, movie, film, whatever is going through, that 0-1 sequence must have the highest entropy. And when you have the highest entropy is if the sequence is independent tosses of an unbiased coin. All from Shannon. I don't know how to get an unbiased coin. Quantum people have claimed that they can actually simulate an unbiased coin, but I still don't know it. But what Shannon says that if you have an independent sequence of tosses of an unbiased coin, the information you generate will have the highest entropy, meaning no information at all. So the whole objective of this internet communication would be for the security purpose. No matter what algorithm you do, what hash you do, what city you do, ultimately what is going through the channels, it must behave like independent tosses of an unbiased coin. Now how do we ensure that? You have to understand, had I have an independent sequence of unbiased coins, what are the properties I like you to get? Okay, so NIST actually carried out a huge project. Now if you go to the NIST site, you will see some 16 or 17 tests. Every day it increases. When I saw it is 12. So people can propose to NIST that this is something which is beyond this 12 we have mentioned. This is another property of this sequence. So they list the properties that is expected from this such a sequence. And if your data, the traffic that is flowing, if you analyze that 0 and 1 sequence, and if any of the test fails, that means this one is not good. So you have some problem in somewhere, either in encryption or in signature or in hash or in the protocol design itself. So this understanding is very important, and I think Gautam is an expert. He and I call him my grandson because he did PhD with my PhD student Shuvamay and 3 of his 3 students. So my 1 son and 3 grandson actually completely broke the RC4, and all they were trying to see, if you see now RC4 is out of market. RC4, that company has lost all the money, now it's out of market. So what they have done actually, if you are actually encrypting by RC4, and they have studied the 0-1 sequences going through the channel, and they are trying to see how they are differing from supposedly an independent set of tosses of unbiased coin. If they find some discrepancy between these two, they have found many of those. And using those, I think we'll call it biases, they have completely broken. So if your voice is encrypted by RC4, which used to be even till 2 years back, I think Gautam can do it in 4 hours, right? So they have showed that in 4 hours they can give you the plain voice. So I'll stop here. So this is my essence is that all my security, no matter what you do, you encrypt, you do hash, you put signature, or you have a designed protocol, ultimately what is going through, it's very important for any internet communication, what is going through the channel, this internet, you just take a slice of this 0-1 sequence, for me it's all 0-1 sequence, and you try to make sure that it actually follows the Shannon's notion. Any deviation is dangerous. Thank you. And I think Gautam will talk about the RC4.